Hey, what's up you guys, it's Caboose XP. I'll bring you another Suicide Squad video, and today what we're going to be doing is breaking down the entire Suicide Squad trailer, shot by shot, frame by frame. Let's just get right into it, because I got a lot of ground to cover, I got a lot of screen grabs here, so let's just get right into it. We're going to do a lot of speculating, breaking down, and just overall appreciating of some of my favorite shots from the trailer. Starting off with this one here, and this shot is so important because if you pay attention, Captain Boomerang, Jai Courtney, his character is in a body bag. And why that is so important is because it basically confirms what the Suicide Squad program is and how everything goes down. Rick Flag and Amanda Waller probably just have all these inmates that they've picked out and have all their deaths faked so that they can get removed from prison, and then they just get enrolled into the Suicide Squad program. Rick Flag just explains to them what they have to do and what it benefits to them if they do it. Obviously, they're kind of get out of jail free card if they go along with the mission. So yeah, that's why this shot is very important to me. It shows that Jai Courtney's Captain Boomerang was in a body bag and he was very unaware of what the hell was going on. That's why when he jumps out, he just starts punching people. So yeah, very important part of the trailer, and it's right towards the beginning. Next up, we got a shot that confirms two things for me. We got a shot here of Rick Flag and June Moon. The first thing that this confirms to me is that these two characters are indeed in some form of a relationship. You can just kind of see from the way that June Moon is looking at Rick Flag, leaning over against him, touching his hair and everything. It's just kind of a couple thing to do, and that's what's going on here. You can definitely tell they're in some form of a relationship together. Another thing that this scene confirms to me from what we hear with the dialogue in the trailer is that they know and are aware of June Moon's powers, that she becomes a witch. It's specifically mentioned, you are possessed by a witch. That is interesting to me because I want to see what happens in this film that kind of leads her to becoming Enchantress, because from what I can tell, she probably just has a way to deflect the witch possession, and she is able to just repress those powers because maybe it makes her evil. But then some way or another she can't do that anymore, and she goes full on Enchantress, probably becoming one of the many villains in this film. And yes, I say many because I believe there's about 3 villains in this film. So that is what I think about this shot in the trailer. There are 2 things that are confirmed to me. Enchantress is in a relationship with Rick Flag, and they are aware of Enchantress's powers. Moving on to the next shot, and I just wanted to put this one in for 2 reasons. Number 1, Killer Croc just looks freaking awesome, and number 2, I actually have a story from someone that I know who worked on the Suicide Squad set about Killer Croc's design. Basically what was going on during the set is there was a moment where the actor playing Killer Croc, I don't want to butcher his name, so I'm not even going to waste time pronouncing it. But yeah, the actor playing Killer Croc was just kind of standing across from where everyone, a part of the film crew, was standing. He was just standing on his own across the street. Then someone walking by who wasn't aware of the film set, he was kind of looking down at his phone, he looked up and he saw the actor playing Killer Croc, and apparently he kind of just went pale white and started freaking out. After he looked to his right and noticed the film set, he had this complete sigh of relief and was just so happy to see that this was not some sort of deformed human being monster in front of him. That's just a testament to how freaking good the makeup and the prosthetics are done on this character. I'm so glad they went with this route and not some overly CGI'd route, although I would like to see the character end up being that giant deformed man that he is from the Arkham games and from the comics. But from what we're getting right now, this is really cool, and it's a testament to see how good and how well done the makeup was on this character, that someone who just randomly saw it without knowing the context of it was freaking the hell out. So that's just really cool, and I wanted to include that. Next up, we got a shot here of post-transformation Enchantress when she actually becomes the Enchantress again. And from what you can tell from the shot, she's obviously in someone's home. Most specifically, I believe it's going to be Rick Flag's home. And this is going to be the moment where he's just like, oh shit, she got possessed by the witch again. She couldn't repress the powers. Now we're going to have to stop her. And it's just this look on her face, how she's shushing she's probably shushing Rick Flag. The way she's shushing whoever she is shushing, you can just kind of see this complete power that is in her possession and how she has control of the situation and she's about to give the rundown, you know? So yeah, this is a really interesting shot. She is in someone's house, probably Rick Flags, giving him the rundown like, hey, I'm possessed by a witch now. I'm going to be the villain of this movie. Next up, and here is where the speculation begins, we know that Scott Eastwood is in this trailer, and there are actually shots in the trailer where they focus on his character. There is a lot of speculation out there as to who he is. A lot of people are saying it's Dick Grayson. A lot of people are saying it's just probably a random guy. Here is my thoughts and my speculation on who he is based on this next shot that comes later on in the trailer. As you can see from this next shot, he has some sort of cool friendship / partnership with one of the other army men that is working with the Suicide Squad, and that's why it leads me to believe that Scott Eastwood is none other than Slade Wilson, and that person that he's fist bumping is none other than Joe Wintergreen. If you've read the comics, Joe Wintergreen is Slade Wilson's best friend in the army. I think they're going to take that aspect, remove the whole army part of it, and just include that here with them being these people that work amongst the Suicide Squad with Rick Flag. I think that is Slade Wilson and Joe Wintergreen. And I know you're going to ask the question, well, how could it be Slade Wilson? He doesn't have the eye patch. You know, he's not missing an eye or anything. That's why I think, and this is where the speculation just gets crazy, that's where I think that Scott Eastwood as Slade Wilson will go through his origin story in this film. One way or another, somehow he's going to lose his eye in this film. Maybe it won't be too comic book accurate in that sense, but I think he's going to lose his eye. He might get really damaged or really hurt in the film, which causes them to experiment on him and create him into the character that we all know and love him as, Deathstroke. Maybe even setting up a second Suicide Squad, setting him up as the villain of that, or maybe even setting him up as Deathstroke to be a villain in an upcoming Teen Titans movie, in an upcoming Batman solo movie. Who knows? I just think that this is Slade Wilson. Just from the way you see this shot and this friendship that they have, it seems like it's Slade Wilson and Joe Wintergreen. So that is my speculation on who Scott Eastwood is playing in Suicide Squad. Next up, we got a full shot of the Suicide Squad here, at least most of them. I wanted to include this shot because of its lack of Killer Croc and Slipknot. Most importantly, Slipknot, because he's really missing throughout a lot of moments in this trailer. One moment in specific that we will get to later on in this video. And the reason that I say that he's really not around is because I think, and what most people on the internet think, is that Slipknot's character is going to be the one that bites the dust. He's probably going to be the one that's made an example of. There's always that character in the Suicide Squad, whether it's from Batman Assault on Arkham or in the comics, that's kind of made an example of. You know, he's going to be the one where he's like, you know what, screw this, I'm going to try and escape, and then Rick Flag's going to be like, nuh-uh, you got a bomb in your head, and now you're dead. And that's when the rest of the Suicide Squad are like, well, looks like we can't escape, and we're just going to be forced within what we have to do here. So, yeah, that's just the way it is. I think Slipknot will be that character that kind of is just made an example of, where they kill him off to show the rest of the Suicide Squad that there is no escaping, and them enlisting in this program means that they have to do what they're told. So that's what I think. And, you know, that comes a lot from the fact that he's missing throughout this trailer, most specifically this shot of the entire Suicide Squad. And, of course, Killer Croc is nowhere to be seen here, too, and that's something that we might get into later on in this breakdown. Next up, we got this really eerie shot of the Suicide Squad walking into a subway, and there's just all this goo and craziness and dead bodies everywhere. This is coming from someone who we'll see later on in the trailer. So just remember this shot because I see the connection and I notice why it's who I think it is that causes all this madness in this subway station. Now next up, this is a shot that I just had to include because it's so freaking awesome. It's of Will Smith in full costume as Deadshot with the mask, with the red eye and everything, and it's just so damn cool. One of the best costumes I've ever seen for a DC villain, bar none. Love the design, and I'm so glad Will Smith is playing the character because he's going to knock it out of the freaking park. Moving on, and these are two shots that I wanted to talk about because it's very interesting to mention, and that is of this shot of the Suicide Squad fighting these weird arachnid-like humans, or monsters I guess you could say, and I think that these are probably some people that Enchantress has possessed, and she's using them as her personal army. This is just going to be some form of a plot device where you have a bunch of minions that can fight the Suicide Squad, so that we don't have a bunch of scenes that is just nothingness. You know, they're kind of just a plot device to move some action forward, to move the plot forward. And as you can see, not only is Captain Boomerang fighting one of them, Killer Croc is too. They're these weird little monsters that look all possessed, and they look all like arachnid-like. So yeah, it's probably something from Enchantress. She's probably possessed a bunch of people, like a bunch of army people or guards or whatever, and she's using them as her own personal army throughout the film to create some, you know, some more bigger action scenes. Now, this next shot is one that I had to include because it's basically the money shot of the trailer. It's the shot of Jared Leto's Joker looking phenomenal, creepy as hell. I'm still not 100% sold on the damage tattoo on the forehead, but that is something so minor, such a nitpick thing that I have about the Joker design, because overall he looks fantastic, and from what I've seen of the performance, the dude is going to crush it as the Joker. So I cannot wait to see this guy on screen in the theaters, because it's going to be awesome. But yeah, this is basically the money shot of the trailer. I wanted to include it. Now, this next shot, I want you to not just pay attention to Jared Leto's Joker, but what's behind him, because it almost looks like the inside of one of those Cargo Bob helicopters. I don't know if they're actually called Cargo Bob helicopters in real life, but they're called that in Grand Theft Auto, so that's what I'm going to call it here in this video, because it looks like from behind him is the inside of a Cargo Bob helicopter, or he's standing inside right now one of those Cargo Bob helicopters. So pay attention to this scene, because it's going to come back, and I'm going to mention it later on in this breakdown. Next up, we got a shot of one of the Joker henchmen, none other than Johnny Frost. You can see from the little patch on his arm that says Mr. Frost, obviously confirming that he will be playing the notorious Joker henchman from the comics, Johnny Frost. So this is pretty cool, and once again, pay attention to the fact that he's inside what seems to be a helicopter firing a machine gun. Pay attention to this. It's going to come back later on in the breakdown. Again, I got another shot here that I just kind of wanted to appreciate. It's a better look at Jared Leto's Joker during the scene, from what I can tell, is where he's going to be kind of torturing or brainwashing Harley Quinn. We've seen parts of this in the original Suicide Squad trailer, and we did kind of see this shot here, but it was such a blink and you miss it moment that we could never get a good screen grab of it. But now we got a longer look at that shot, so we can see Joker here with the tattoos and everything in its glory and insanity. So yeah, just wanted to include this, another awesome shot from the trailer. Next up, we got the shot of the Joker car with Joker and Harley inside. This is probably right around the time that Batman intervenes, and this is another thing to remember. We're going to come back to this because it has some sort of connection to another shot that we see later on in the trailer. So yeah, remember this as well. Next up, we got a shot of Enchantress inside the White House. You can see there from the logo in the background, and that obviously doesn't mean anything too good, but from what I can tell, on the right there, I believe that is Viola Davis's Amanda Waller. She's probably talking to Enchantress here, and Enchantress is kind of laying out what her plan is, or providing some form of exposition, because she says this line, you know, let's have a little fun, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. But yeah, I believe that is Amanda Waller there to the right, and she has her first encounter with Enchantress here at the White House. Again, another shot that we just had to sit here and appreciate because it's so freaking insane. It's the Joker laying down with a bunch of knives and guns and grenades and just madness all around him. And of course, I think we can see some Joker cards there in the bottom right corner. But yeah, this is just such a crazy shot, and we hear that awesome Joker laugh that Jared Leto has just nailed. So freaking creepy, so well done. Yeah, we just had to appreciate this. There are a lot of shots like that where I'm just sitting there like in awe, because I had to watch this trailer like a million times over for this breakdown, and these were the shots where I just sat there and I was like, oh my god, cinematography, just so well done. Next up, and this is a very important shot here that we have of Katana and her sword. Of course, the sword in the comics is used to trap the souls of her victims, and we can see a glimpse of that from the smoke that's emitting off of the sword with all the skulls and stuff that are trapped inside, which are, of course, the souls that she has taken. That is so awesome. They are not nearly straying away from the comics. They are staying completely faithful to each and every origin of each character within this film, and I love that. They're not trying to make it super realistic. They're just going balls to the wall with every single origin for each character. So kudos to you, David Ayer, for being all for that. I love it. Another shot worth mentioning here, we see Will Smith as Deadshot training, probably showing what he has to bring to the table for the Suicide Squad, as we can see Viola Davis in the background, Amanda Waller, observing what his abilities are, probably seeing what he can bring to the table if he's worth being a part of the Suicide Squad during this scene. Next up, we got this quick shot here of a helicopter diving down and using its flares. Now, again, I want you to remember this because it's something that has all sorts of connections to that Cargo Bob helicopter. Why would a helicopter be using flares? Obviously, none other than to deflect a missile or to divert a missile that's coming towards it. So yeah, I think that has some sort of connection to the Cargo Bob helicopter that I was talking about earlier, which we will see later on in this breakdown. So just remember these scenes. And here was probably one of the most interesting shots of the trailer. This was a shot in the trailer where everyone was like, what the hell was that? Everyone's pretty much guessed it at this point, and they know who this character is, and it's none other than the Tattooed Man. We saw that Common was on set for Suicide Squad, and he is indeed playing the Tattooed Man. The Tattooed Man is a villain in the comics, and what his powers are is he basically can bring his tattoos to life. One of the things that he can do with his tattoos is like create a dragon, and that's kind of what he's doing here. But either way, you can see his powers in full effect as he's bringing his tattoos to life to just kind of blow through this train. You know, he's creating a giant hole in the middle of this train, which is just insane, just crazy. And next up, we got a shot of Killer Croc as he's about to hit Katana. Now, the reason that I wanted to mention this is because if we went all the way back to the full shot of the team, and why I was saying it was interesting that Killer Croc and Slipknot is missing, is because I have a feeling that they're going to have a little fight here, Killer Croc and Katana might kill Killer Croc and trap his soul in his sword. That's why we see that shot of her holding the sword, and we kind of just admire the fact, or just witness the fact that all those souls are trapped in it, because I think there's going to be a moment where she kills Killer Croc with her sword, and then she witnesses his soul being sucked inside of it. I hope he doesn't bite the dust, because I would love to see him show up in a future Batman film, but we're just going to have to wait and see, I guess. Next up, we had a shot of Harley Quinn in the film. This is, of course, pre-transformation Harley Quinn. She's wearing a blue shirt. That's something that's notable, something that you should take in mind. We will get to that later on in the trailer breakdown. Over here we have another shot of those weird little arachnid looking people. This is, of course, again, as I mentioned, what seems to be Enchantress's army of like minions used to push some action forward, to create some action set pieces, which is still really awesome. This is like the moment in the trailer where everything just goes insane. We see Deadshot on top of a car just blasting these people away. So I can't wait to see this action scene play out, and I can't wait to see what exactly these weird little things are. I'm pretty sure there are people just possessed by Enchantress, but we're gonna have to wait and see. We then get another shot of the Tattooed Man using his powers in action, and this is where I want to go back to what we saw in that shot of the Suicide Squad entering a subway that just looks gross and filled with all this goo and this weird stuff sticking off of the walls, because as you can see from that pillar there, we have those same spikes that are sticking off the walls, the same goo sticking off the walls. So I believe it is the Tattooed Man who creates that stuff that we saw earlier in the trailer, and it's kind of like a trail that the Suicide Squad is following, which leads to this big action scene in the subway with the Tattooed Man. Next up, this is a very big, like, blink and you'll miss it scene of Harley Quinn and the Joker inside a club. Now, the reason this scene is so important is because you can see that the Joker is wearing the white suit, and of course, we've seen this shot before of Harley Quinn in this club. You know, she's wearing like this dress and everything. The reason this shot is so important is because I believe this is the scene that leads into them going into the car and driving off. They probably steal something here, maybe some jewelry, whatever it may be, and then they drive off in the Joker car, which leads Batman to intervene. This is probably all part of some sort of flashback moment. That's why I think Batman shows up, because it's just like a flashback. But if this is something that happens in continuity in the film, it's going to be very interesting to see how this whole scene pans out. But yes, as you can see, Joker and Harley kind of raiding this club here, probably to steal something, and then flee the scene in the Joker car, which leads to Batman intervening. And next up, these next two shots are very important to mention because it's all about Harley Quinn's origin, and a lot about it, in fact. The first thing to mention with this shot is, of course, that Joker is diving into the chemicals. They're probably inside of Ace Chemicals, and also worth mentioning that he's wearing a red, kind of pinkish shirt. Now, in the next shot, as he dives in, you can see the red from his shirt being, you know, kind of like the dye is wearing off into the chemicals, and the blue shirt that Harleen Quinzel is wearing off into the chemicals, which obviously leads to Harley Quinn's hair having that blue and pink effect in it. That comes from the dye in their shirt being removed when they're inside the chemicals. This is obviously as well an important scene because it is the creation of Harley Quinn. This is the moment, and it's very New 52-ish, where Joker probably pushes her into the chemicals, and then she becomes Harley Quinn this way. She goes insane during this moment and becomes Harley Quinn. Another thing worth mentioning, the dye from their shirts and everything forms a heart around them. Little on the nose there, but I guess that's just the way it is. And now the next shot, there it is, the Cargo Bob helicopter that I kept talking about. So I think there's going to be a big action set piece involving the Joker or someone working for the Joker flying this helicopter, and there's just this big helicopter chase scene. That's why the other helicopter was using the flares. That's why you saw Mr. Frost on some sort of machine gun. That's why you saw the Joker outside of a helicopter. I think this thing comes crashing down. The Joker lives, walks out, picks up that golden AK and starts shooting people down, and he does that weird maniacal laugh that's just freaky looking, you know? So yeah, I think there's a big connection with that, this big action set piece involving a helicopter chase, having this helicopter come crashing down. The Joker, of course, lives because he lives through everything, and then he comes busting out with a golden AK. Another shot worth appreciating, Jared Leto Joker, inside of a car, hitting the top of his roof, wearing the white suit, looking awesome. Moving on to the final thing that I wanted to talk about in this trailer, which is the last shot here where we have all this weird freakiness going on in the forefront, again, probably by the hands of Enchantress. And then another thing worth mentioning, Killer Croc and Slipknot are missing from this scene. From left to right, we do see that's either El Diablo or Joel Kinnaman's Rick Flag. Then we got Deadshot, Katana, Harley Quinn, and all the way on the right, we see there Captain Boomerang. So yeah, Killer Croc and Slipknot, again, missing from the scene. So I'm thinking that both those characters are going to end up kicking the bucket. And that concludes my super extensive trailer breakdown for Suicide Squad. I hope you enjoyed this. There was a ton of work that went into this video, so I really hope you enjoyed this. We pretty much went frame by frame from every shot that was important in this trailer. So yeah, really hope you enjoyed all the hard work put into it. But what did you guys think of the breakdown? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Were there some things that you noticed in the trailer that I may have missed? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm CaboosXBL. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter and like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description. Like if you enjoyed and appreciated the breakdown. Favorite, comment, and subscribe. See you guys later.